The perfect wife's secret. When I found the second phone hidden in my wife's gym bag, I thought I'd discovered an affair. What I actually uncovered was so much worse and so much better than I could have ever imagined. My wife Sarah has always been perfect. Too perfect, if I'm being honest. In our 5 years of marriage, she's never burned dinner, never forgotten an anniversary, never left dishes in the sink. She volunteers at the animal shelter every weekend, sends birthday cards to my entire extended family, and somehow always looks like she just stepped out of a magazine. I'm David, by the way. I'm a pretty average guy, software engineer, decent salary, thinning hair at 32, and a slight obsession with craft beer. Sarah is, well, she's everything I'm not. Organized, social, beautiful, and seemingly incapable of doing anything wrong. Which is why finding that phone felt like my world was crashing down. It was a Tuesday evening. Sarah was at her book club. She's in 3 different book clubs because of course she is. I was doing laundry, something I'd recently started doing more often because I noticed Sarah seemed stressed. When I picked up her gym bag to check for dirty clothes, the zipper was slightly open, and I saw the corner of a phone I didn't recognize. My heart sank. Every terrible scenario ran through my mind as I stared at this sleek black device that definitely wasn't her iPhone. My hands were shaking as I pulled it out and powered it on. The lock screen showed dozens of notifications. Messages, calls, emails. All from numbers I didn't recognize. My stomach churned as I realized I'd need her passcode to see what was really going on. But here's the thing about living with someone for 5 years, you pick up on their habits. Sarah used the same 4-digit code for everything. 0847, our anniversary date. My finger hovered over the screen for what felt like an eternity before I finally entered it. The phone unlocked. What I saw in those first few seconds made absolutely no sense. The messaging app was full of conversations, but they weren't romantic. They weren't sexual. They were business transactions. Pickup confirmed for tomorrow at 3 p.m. Package delivered successfully. Client very satisfied. New request came in. Can you handle Thursday evening? I scrolled through message after message, trying to piece together what I was looking at. There were addresses I didn't recognize, references to clients and schedules, and most confusingly, what appeared to be payment confirmations for significant amounts of money. My wife, my perfect volunteer at the animal shelter wife, appeared to be running some kind of business I knew nothing about. I sat on our bedroom floor for 2 hours going through that phone. What I discovered was that Sarah had been living a complete double life for over 3 years. But it wasn't what I thought. She wasn't having an affair. She was running an underground cleaning service for people who couldn't afford regular housekeeping. I know how that sounds. Underground cleaning service makes it sound way more dramatic than it actually was. But stay with me because this story gets so much more complicated. Through the messages, I pieced together that Sarah had started this about 6 months after we got married. She'd met an elderly woman named Rose at the grocery store who was crying because she couldn't afford to hire someone to help clean her house after a minor surgery. Sarah had offered to help for free, and word had spread through Rose's community. What started as occasional volunteer work had evolved into a full operation. Sarah was coordinating a network of about 15 women who would clean houses for people who were elderly, disabled, or going through financial hardship. They charged about half of what commercial services cost, and for people who truly couldn't pay, they did it for free. The clients in her messages weren't customers. They were the people she was helping. The packages being delivered were cleaning supplies. The schedules were cleaning appointments. My wife had been running a secret charity for 3 years and hiding it from me. But why hide it? That's what I couldn't understand. This was incredible work she was doing. Why wouldn't she want to share this with me? I kept digging through the phone, and that's when I found the financial records. Sarah had been funding this operation almost entirely out of her own pocket. She'd been using her salary from her job at the marketing firm, plus money she'd been quietly saving from our household budget. Over 3 years, she'd spent nearly $40,000 of her own money on cleaning supplies, transportation costs, and paying the other women who helped when clients could contribute something but not enough to cover the full cost. $40,000. Money that could have gone toward the house we'd been talking about buying. Money that could have gone toward the vacation to Europe we'd been planning. Money that could have been in our shared savings account. I felt sick, but not for the reason you might think. I felt sick because I was married to this incredible woman who was quietly changing people's lives, and she felt like she had to hide it from me. I put the phone back exactly where I found it and spent the rest of the evening trying to act normal when Sarah came home from book club. She kissed me hello, asked about my day, and started making her famous chocolate chip cookies, just because. Meanwhile, I was sitting there knowing she'd probably spent her afternoon helping someone scrub their bathroom floors. I didn't sleep that night. I kept thinking about all the times Sarah had seemed tired or stressed, all the times she'd said she was going to book club or the gym or out with friends. How many of those times had she actually been on her hands and knees cleaning someone's house? And more importantly, why did she feel like she couldn't tell me? The next morning, I made a decision. I was going to follow her. I know how that sounds. I know it was a violation of her privacy. But I couldn't just confront her with the phone. She'd know I'd been snooping, and I needed to understand the full scope of what she was doing before we had that conversation. Sarah left for work at her usual time. I called in sick and waited an hour before leaving myself. According to the GPS history on the secret phone, yes, I'd managed to access that too. Her first stop that day was supposed to be an address about 20 minutes from our house. I drove to the neighborhood and parked down the street from the address. It was a small, older home with a ramp leading to the front door and an overgrown yard. After about 10 minutes, I saw Sarah's car pull up. But she wasn't alone. 2 other women got out with her, and they started unloading cleaning supplies from the trunk. Buckets, mops, vacuum cleaners, boxes of what looked like groceries. They worked with the efficiency of a team that had done this many times before. I watched them disappear into the house, and I sat there in my car for the next 3 hours. When they finally came out, they were loading different things into the car, what looked like bags of garbage and recycling. The yard, which had been overgrown when they arrived, was now neatly trimmed. They hadn't just cleaned the house. They'd done yard work too. As they were getting ready to leave, an elderly man came out of the house in a wheelchair. Even from down the street, I could see him talking animatedly to Sarah, gesturing with his hands. She hugged him goodbye, and I saw him wipe his eyes. My wife had made this man cry tears of gratitude, and I'd been completely oblivious to it. I followed them to 2 more houses that day. The pattern was the same each time. Sarah and her team would arrive with supplies, work for hours, and leave with the homeowners looking grateful and happy. At the 3rd house, a woman about our age answered the door holding a toddler. She hugged Sarah immediately, and they talked for a few minutes before the cleaning started. When Sarah's team left, I saw the woman standing in her doorway, waving goodbye with tears in her eyes. That evening, Sarah came home at her usual time, looking slightly tired but cheerful. She made dinner, asked about my sick day, and we watched Netflix together. I kept looking at her hands, noticing small cuts and calluses I'd never paid attention to before, evidence of the physical work she'd been doing. "How was your day?" I asked, giving her an opening to tell me the truth. "Oh, the usual office stuff," she said with a smile. "Pretty boring, actually. How are you feeling?" "Better." She was protecting me from the truth, and I couldn't figure out why. This went on for a week. I'd call in sick, follow her around, and watch my wife transform people's lives while she came home and pretended she'd spent the day in marketing meetings. But on Friday, something different happened. I was parked outside a small apartment complex, waiting for Sarah and her team to finish up, when I saw a police car pull up. My heart started racing. Had someone called the cops? Was what Sarah was doing somehow illegal? But then I saw the police officer get out, and he was carrying cleaning supplies. He walked right up to Sarah's car, loaded his supplies in with theirs, and went into the building. He wasn't there to arrest anyone. He was there to help. That's when it clicked. This wasn't just Sarah's operation. She'd somehow built an entire network of people who were contributing to this cause. The police officer, the other women, probably dozens of people I'd never seen. My wife wasn't just running an underground cleaning service. She was running an underground community. That night, I finally worked up the courage to confront her. But I wasn't angry anymore. I was amazed. After dinner, I went to our bedroom and came back with her secret phone. Sarah, I said, placing it on the kitchen table between us. We need to talk. Her face went completely white. For the first time in our marriage, my perfect wife looked absolutely terrified. David, I can explain, she started, but I held up my hand. I know what this is, I said. I know about Rose, about the cleaning service, about everything. What I don't understand is why you felt like you had to hide it from me. She stared at the phone for a long moment, then looked up at me with tears in her eyes. Because I was ashamed, she whispered. Ashamed? Sarah, what you're doing is incredible. You're helping people. You're changing lives. Why would you be ashamed of that? Because it's not enough, she said, and the words came tumbling out. Do you know how many people I have to turn away? Do you know how many calls I get from people who need help that I can't provide because I don't have enough money or enough people or enough time? She wiped her eyes and continued. Every dollar I spend on this is a dollar we can't spend on our future. Every hour I spend cleaning someone else's house is an hour I'm not spending with you. I felt selfish and guilty, but I couldn't stop because these people need help and no one else is helping them. I sat there listening to my wife explain how guilty she felt about being too generous, too kind, too giving. It was the most backward thing I'd ever heard. Sarah, I said finally, you've been feeling guilty about spending our money on helping people? She nodded, not meeting my eyes. Do you know what I spent $40,000 on over the past 3 years? I asked. She looked up at me, confused. Absolutely nothing important, I said. Video games, beer, gadgets I used twice, restaurant meals we could have made at home. You spent $40,000 changing people's lives. I spent $40,000 on complete garbage. It's not the same thing, David. That money was yours to spend. No, I said firmly. It wasn't. We're married. We're a team. Your money is our money, and our money is your money. And if we're going to spend our money, I'd much rather spend it the way you've been spending it than the way I've been spending it. That's when she really started crying. Not the perfect, delicate tears she shed at movies or during emotional commercials. Real, messy, exhausted tears. I was so scared you'd think I was being irresponsible, she sobbed. I was scared you'd make me stop, and I couldn't stop, David. These people need help. I got up from my chair and hugged my wife, really hugged her, maybe for the first time in years. I don't want you to stop, I said. I want to help, and that's exactly what we did. The next week, I took a vacation day and went with Sarah on her rounds. I met Rose, who was now 84 and still living independently thanks to the weekly help Sarah provided. I met Jim, the man in the wheelchair, who had been a veteran living alone and unable to maintain his house until Sarah's team started coming by. I met Maria, the young mother I'd seen with the toddler, who was working 2 part-time jobs while going to nursing school and couldn't afford professional cleaning services. Every person we helped had a story. Every house we cleaned represented a life that was a little bit better because my wife had decided to care. But more than that, I met the network of people Sarah had assembled. Teachers, nurses, police officers, retirees, dozens of people who contributed their time, money, or skills because Sarah had shown them a way to make a real difference. That's when I understood why Sarah had kept it secret. It wasn't just about the money or the time. She was afraid that involving me would somehow change the purity of what she was doing. She was afraid that making it official would ruin it. But she was wrong. Over the following months, we turned Sarah's secret operation into something bigger and better. I used my tech skills to build a simple website and scheduling system. We set up a legitimate nonprofit organization. We started accepting donations and recruiting more volunteers. But we kept the same philosophy Sarah had started with. Help people who need help, don't ask too many questions, and don't make anyone feel ashamed for needing assistance. Today, 18 months later, we have over 200 volunteers and we've helped more than 1,500 families. We've partnered with local social services, senior centers, and disability advocacy groups. Sarah left her marketing job to run the organization full-time, and I've never seen her happier. But the best part isn't the numbers or the recognition. The best part is that I finally know who my wife really is. She's not perfect. She's something much better than that. She's someone who sees problems and fixes them. She's someone who sees people in need and helps them. She's someone who would rather sacrifice her own comfort than let others suffer. I thought I'd married the perfect woman. It turned out I'd married someone much more interesting than that. I'd married a superhero who disguised herself as a perfect housewife. And the crazy thing is, I'm pretty sure I'm not the only one. I bet a lot of you reading this are married to secret superheroes too. People who are quietly making the world better while you're not paying attention. Pay attention. Ask questions. Get involved. You might discover that the person you thought you knew is actually someone incredible you've never met. The second phone is gone now. Sarah doesn't need to hide anymore. But sometimes, when I see her organizing supplies for a weekend cleaning event, or when I watch her train new volunteers, I remember that feeling of discovering who she really was. It was better than any affair could have ever been. It was falling in love with my wife all over again.